What's going on, people? Welcome back to the Get It Bucket podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. As always, joined by my guy, Kevo. Kev, what's going on, brother?
I'm always good, man. I'm glad to be here. We got a special guest on today. I can't wait to get it rocking. We got some great games this weekend, too, by the way, that I can't wait to talk about
Yes,
eventually.
sir.
But
Yes.
I can't wait for this one. Should be a good one. I'm always good, man. Let's get right into it.
We got Team Aquarius in the building. Found out we all Aquariuses, and it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. But like Kev said, we got a special guest in the building. You've definitely seen him on the Off the Ball podcast. Does some contributing to the Off the Ball network. Bluff City Media, live after every Memphis Tigers game. Our guy, Francis Carlota. Francis, what's going on, my brother?
Oh man, what an intro! A lot of things, man. I'm busy
There
man,
you go.
I guess.
Big time, big time.
No, just doing my best. I much love to both of y'all. Love the pod. Y'all are great together. Y'all know your hoops. Y'all are hoop heads. It's just an honor to be on this pod for the first time, talking with both of y'all. Kev, I didn't know you're in the West Coast. Like I'm out in San Diego.
Yeah.
You're in Inglewood, man. Like I was just in LA for the Grizzlies Lakers game. And I didn't know you were just down the road. If I knew, I would have hit you up. Dang. Missed opportunity.
We'll
Next time.
Yep.
Next time. Thanks for having me, yo.
I gotta get out there because it's too cold out here. It's too cold out on the East Coast, man. It's not even fair, man. This is ridiculous, but I'm jealous. But Francis, he covers all things Memphis. As you guys know, you've seen him on the Off the Ball podcast. He covers his Memphis Grizzlies. This is, and I'm gonna get him on because obviously it's been tough. A little tough this season for the Grizzlies, man. It's been tough. I'm sorry, Francis. You got to go. You got to go through, But also covers the Memphis Tigers. Penny and them boy. Penny got them boys hooping and all that. Tough loss recently and all that. And like I said, we'll get into that. But obviously, Francis, we got Penny Hardaway, head coach, and all that. This season, coming into this season, there was a lot of rumblings, right? And Kev, we talked about this and all with Penny and all that, and kind of how tough it is sometimes to be, a former player, or NBA player, a star player, and all that. But not just that, but you're alum. You are the face of the program. You're arguably the best player in program history and all that. So, what was the feeling around the program and then just how with Penny and all that? Coming into this season, was it true that was there feelings that this is a make or break season for him and all that? Talk to us about the feeling going into the season, regarding Penny and the Memphis Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, make or break is probably too strong of a way to put it. Coming off back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances, he got his first NCAA tournament win 2 years ago. Last year, we know they lost to FAU in a heartbreaking fashion.
Heartbreaking.
It's just even worse because if they beat FAU, they could have been the FAU of last season. They get a 16 seed in the next round. That's an easy path to the Sweet 16, and who knows? That's what makes it hurt even more. Besides,
and narratives change too. By him having a run, narratives change. Nobody's talking about any job security at all. Yep. We're talking about praising him more.
No question. Entering this year, it didn't feel like make or break, but it did feel like when is a run going to happen? Like they just won the AAC, they beat Houston, which was great to win the AAC title. But when are they going to do it in the NCAA tournament? Like when are they going to make a run? And what we all know the recipe to making a run in the NCAA tournament. It's veteran leadership, veteran guard play, and just playing just smart, consistent basketball. Consistent being the key word there. Yep. And that's what Penny was looking for, coming off of a roster that was really top heavy, didn't have a lot of depth, didn't have tons of experience. But now he tried to put together a roster that has lots of veterans. Javon Quinterly in his, I think, 6th season in college basketball. David Jones coming into his senior year as well.
Yeah, then y'all have homie that was trying to 38 years
DeAndre
old.
Williams was trying to come back. Like that. Penny was trying to put together a veteran roster that could just be grown-ups, to be mature and find consistency led by incredible guard play and a gem in David Jones. And what a gem he's turned out to be. So I wouldn't say it was make or break coming into the year, but it definitely was. Let's see something. Let's make a second weekend in the NCAA tournament. Winning the conference is great, but let's get a little bit more success, and then the job security, the faith in Penny will be 100% restored. And I think that's what the vibe was entering the year.
Yeah, so I gotta ask you about Penny, right? Because he always faces a whole bunch of criticism that I hate. I've always pushed back on that because I feel like one thing we don't take into account is that just like players, coaches can get better too and evolve over time too. And Penny is a dude that literally, as people know, he coached high school, he coached middle school. He's been around the block per se, right? So I want to ask, where have you seen the greatest improvement as Penny as he's currently sitting in year 6 at the helm at Memphis?
Great question, Kev. That's an awesome question. I actually wrote an article about that same thing before the season started for Bluff City Media, because I noticed a trend about his rosters from the beginning of his tenure in 2019 to now, 2018, 2019 season to now. And initially, as you all know, he's basically trying to be an NBA factory, trying to be like Calipari at Kentucky, get all the 5 stars, put people in the first round, get them drafted, and that will be our recruiting tool to young guys. Like, look what we can do. We got James Wiseman, we got Precious Achua, we got Jalen Duren, like we got Amani Bates. Like, we're gonna put y'all in the league. Like, because I'm a league guy, I was an NBA star. What could have been one of the best players of all time if injuries didn't happen. And so this is who I am. This is who you're going to be. You're going to be like me. And I think that was his plan to put together a college basketball roster. A little bit of breaking news, that didn't work. That did not work. You know, we know what happened with James Wiseman. He played like 2 games for the Memphis Tigers. COVID happened, which derailed one of their number 1 recruiting class seasons as well. And when he put together that roster with Imani and Jalen Duren, I think getting Jalen Duren was actually a good sign of growth, because he realized that he needed a dominant interior big man to complement guard play. And he got that in Jalen Duren. He also signed DeAndre Williams that year. Like, people forget that Jalen Duren and Monty Bates year was the first year DeAndre Williams played for the Tigers. And that was also a smart move, because you got a veteran guy who can kind of be the leader and experience for the team of the number 1 recruiting class in the NCAA. And, you know, it worked to a decent degree. There was a lot of chemistry issues, a lot of growing up that the young dudes had to do, issues with Imani at Memphis for sure. But I think overall that season wasn't a success, but it was fine. It was a step of a sign of progress. And then after that, what does he do? He gets Kendrick Davis, senior guard in the portal. He gets more experience. He still has DeAndre Williams. He goes and gets guys in transfer portal who are also experienced guys who play team basketball. And last season, they make a run. They win the conference. They beat Houston in the conference championship. And, you know, obviously we just talked about what happened against FAU. But him targeting Kendrick Davis and saying, look, screw all this, guard by committee, ball handler by committee, which was his initial plan when he had Imani. He had Lester Quinones. I have his face in my head. Landers only the third. Like, he had a bunch of dudes who his plan was like, let's just do guard by committee, ball handler by committee. He's like, nah, screw that. I need a point guard. I need a guard. I'm going to get Kendrick Davis, who was the number 1 transfer portal guy in his transfer portal class and one of the best point guards in America last year. That worked. He was incredible. And what does he do this year? Goes get Javon Quinterly. He gets a 6-year senior who is a veteran established point guard in college basketball who knows how to lead a team. He gets a bunch of other veteran guys who, yes, they haven't played a lot together, but they're veterans who should be adjusted and used to playing college basketball at a high level. And the way he put together this roster was, to me, the biggest sign of improvement of what you said, Kev, of learning as a coach. He's learned how to put together a roster in college basketball, and he's learned how to win in college basketball. Now you got to see what happens this year. And it's a very long story long. Let's see what happens this year. But I do think that's the biggest sign of improvement, that he's learned how to put together a college basketball roster.
Yeah. And me and Kev talk about this a lot on the show, just about coaches, evolving too, right? We always talk about players evolving from, freshman, sophomore year, junior year, and all that, but how sometimes you learn from coaching throughout the years and all that. And like I said, Penny, it's not like Penny was coming from college where he was an assistant coach or something that, he's coming straight from high school and all that. And boom, you're the head coach of your alma mater, and like I said, there was a lot of ups and downs. All right. there's stuff he has to figure out as a coach. You gotta learn how to recruit. You gotta learn how to adapt, put all these pieces together and all that. And I think that's something that gets overlooked with coaches and all that. And we just assume, and we're seeing with Javon's, had some early success, but now it's been tough for Javon and all that. But being Penny Hardaway doesn't mean you're automatically going to have success. I think a lot of people came with the expectations because, obviously alumni, and he's Penny Hardaway, that boom, instant success. Some things have to wait. And it may not be the success you guys wanted because of, what his name is, but there is some good throughout even in the years you didn't make or you fell short, there was some good. And like you said, March Madness, like you said, a couple things go your way, and maybe you are FAU and you're going to the Final Four. We know how March Madness is. It is crazy.
Yeah.
It is. That's why they call it March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can happen and all that, and like, we have to understand that, he's growing. It's year 6 of him as a college coach, and then it seems like he's figuring out. But for you this season so far, what have you seen on the court, coaching wise, what he's been able to, improve on the court, with this team this year?
I think the biggest improvement I've seen is some adjustments that he's done mid-game. He's also been much better at calling out of timeout plays. His set's been much cleaner out of timeouts. Like I think more often than not, he calls a timeout, they score on the play after the timeout. He's actually gotten better as a play designer, play caller. I also think he's realized when to feed the hot hand. If David Jones is on an absolute heater, like just keep feeding him the ball, keep finding ways to get him the ball, let him cook. And he's also realized that Javon Quinterly has to be the starter of this offense. Side note, there's something happening outside. I don't know if you hear like a buzzing noise. I don't know what that is.
It feels like
sorry that, I know what the hell that is. So apologies to everyone. I don't know what that is. It's like it's nighttime. I don't know who's doing gardening right now, but anyway, he's realized
that's how nice the weather is, man. You gotta just be gardening. I see you can't do that in New York. We freezing. We freezing like this. That's why I gotta get out there. I don't want
to. But I digress. No, he's learned that Javon Quinterly has to be the initiator of the offense. He has to have the ball in his hands, bringing the ball up, starting the offense, being the conductor. It's something I preached a ton as someone who covers the Tigers. Like every possession doesn't need to end with Javon Quinterly, but it sure as hell needs to start with Javon Quinterly. And Penny Hardaway has realized that. Now, to get critical of him, where I haven't seen a lot of improvement is against the zone. Like it's just straight up. Let's just call it the way it is. We watched the USF game last night. I've watched every Tigers game this year. Every time a team plays a zone against Memphis, and it's a lot of teams play zone against Memphis now. Yeah. I don't know what the hell's happening. They just kind of stand around and they don't even swing the ball. It's like lethargic passes. It's like they're just holding the ball, looking around, and then okay, I'm gonna pass to you. And it's like they're just. There's no fluidity. There's no flow. There's nothing happening. And I think the biggest issue is I think Penny and his coaching staff, and shout out to Bluff City's Kenny Stubblefield for making this point last night on the Tigers live show. We think, and I agree with him, that it's the coaching staff got a little bit too big for their britches, started drinking their own Kool-Aid too much, and thought, we got shooters, we can just shoot them out of a zone. Hell no. Like, no, that's just not how it goes. You have to actually design plays and run an offense against the zone. And you just have to. And especially with a Memphis team that, lost Caleb Mills, who was one of their better spot-up shooters so far of the year. Lose him, and now you're relying so much on Jaquan Walton to hit open looks, and he's had a, unfortunately, pretty down year thus far. You get Ashton Hardaway as a freshman, but he can't defend nobody. He just can't defend nobody. He can't rebound worth the crap. Like, he has real issues as a college basketball player. Like, as a scorer, he can score. But as an overall player, he's got some issues that he's got to work on. So, that's to get a little to be critical of Penny. The struggles against the zone are real. Against a man-to-man defense, I actually think he's gotten a lot better in the half court against man-to-man. He's actually running good sets. They're getting good looks going downhill, good looks at the rim. But as soon as a team goes into a zone, it's like everyone forgets how to play basketball. So I don't know, what have y'all thought about, I guess, the offense so far from what y'all have seen? Do y'all agree?
I agree 100%. And my thing, because eventually I am going to get into coaching, but when it comes to zones, like you kind of said, it's ball movement and it's partially player movement, but it's where you're generating your offense from, right? To me, when you're playing a zone, your two best areas, the two weak points in the zone are the short corners and
Yep.
the middle, the free throw line. Those are always, if you can get the ball into one of those two spots each possession that you come down offensively, you're gonna have a great shot at getting a great shot. And most teams, that's why most coaches run zone defensively, because they know that you gotta adjust your shots, right? Versus man, for the most part where you're gonna get your shots from. Versus zone, it puts you in a whole bunch of funky different situations, like Eric Spoelstra does for my Heat, and teams they get completely lost in route and they don't know what to do.
Especially in college,
Yeah.
where
Especially in
guys
college.
could get easily confused.
And that's why Boeheim made a living of it, because his zone was different than everybody else's, right? His 2-3 was expanded out. He put you in a whole bunch of different, and he lived with those corner threes. Like if you can make them, he was fine with that. But more often times than not, average shooting teams aren't going to make those shots because they're tough shots and they're coming off a whole bunch of ball reversals, and the bigs are expanding out. So I agree with you 100% on that point, to be honest.
And it's not just getting the ball like in the middle and the short corner. It's like, say you get the ball to a guy in the middle. Now they have to be smart. They got to be smart. They have to read the game, read the floor. And the problem is the guy who usually gets the ball in the middle is usually a big. And so that big has to be smart enough to read the floor. And that's not what bigs are meant to do. Like in basketball. That's not why you get a big, to read the floor. Heck no.
Yeah.
You know, like if every team had a Nikola Jokic to bust the zone, fantastic. But it's college basketball.
Bigs in college sometimes don't even know how to move, let alone.
It's like that's where, like last year, they had DeAndre Williams, who I thought was great when Memphis played his zone, because he was heady, smart enough. He read the defense very well and was able to find guys in backdoor cuts, find dudes in the short corner for open threes. Now, like from what I've seen, they like to put Nick Jourdain in the free throw line area to try and get the ball to him. But he's just a little slow, like sometimes as a decision maker. And I love Nick Jourdain. I think he plays really hard, plays with a lot of effort, a lot of energy. But if you force him to make decisions with the ball, it is not like this. It's like it's really slow when you force him to make decisions. And then also like just there's not. They put dudes in short corner. They do, and they're just not making shots. Like they shot the cover of the ball against Wichita State, and they busted Wichita State.
Lit them up for like a buck, what, 102 points, something like that, right?
112 points,
112
19 threes, like a school record 19 threes, because they were just hitting everything. But look at Memphis for the season. They're not a good 3-point shooting team for the season.
Yeah,
they can have those moments, but they're pretty average. So it's like they have to figure out ways to have a better flow when they play zone. And it's just coaching. They've got to coach up Naquan Tomlin. They got to coach up Nick Jourdain. They got to coach up Malcolm Dandridge. If they put Malco at the free throw line to make the decision, like they got to coach him up. Maybe you can even have Jaquan Walden or David Jones in the middle of a zone. I actually think DJ in the middle of a zone would be interesting because he is a decent enough passer, but he's also great in the mid-range. So he can operate in the mid-range and figure out a way. He's a free throw line magnet. So he's going to have 3 dudes on him if you give him the ball at the free throw line. And he's so crafty with how he moves. He's probably just going to get to the line, like probably. Special. And he's like an 80% free throw shooter. So that's like 2 points. That's 2 points. So I think there are ways that they can break this zone. They just got to figure it out.
And I say too, right, you mentioned it with the slow processing because the bigs are in those spots. One thing I hate to bring back to my Spartans too, but when we lost to Syracuse, what was that, 2018, I want to say, with Xavier Tillman and Jaren Jackson that year, literally, I was so mad because Izzo kept putting the big in those spots that you just mentioned. My idea would just put your point guard there. Let your point guard do the processing and again, run your offense through the free throw line and let him operate, right? Figure out how you can get your point guard in the middle of the zone and operate from there. But I'll end with that. My next question for you, though, I got to go back to last season because you mentioned him a little bit, but this is one of my favorite players. I got like my random favorite college basketball players. I got J.P. McCure from Xavier. If people remember him, some of y'all would know. Melo Trimble from Maryland. not too
Melo
long ago. He was one of
Trimble.
my favorite players. And Kendrick Davis, man, like
Yeah.
what he did at SMU, I was so glad that he made that move to Memphis because he said it himself, like he wasn't on that stage at SMU. He just
SMU,
wasn't.
yeah.
And he was killing. Like he was averaging a whole bunch of points. Originally from the Houston area, small guard. He had a whole bunch of big moments last year. I remember the game winner at Maryland, Maryland at Temple.
Temple. Yep.
And he was just cooking. So I just got to ask you about what was it like to just have Kendrick Davis on your team last year, because he was dominant last year.
It was a blessing. Like it just 100%. It was an absolute blessing to have him on the squad. Every time he had the ball in his hands, you just felt at ease, but also excited. Like it's like you felt that something good was going to happen, and you just trusted that something good was going to happen every time he had the ball in his hands. He wasn't a great 3-point shooter, but even then, he would take a deep, like the game against Houston at home, where that crowd was rocking, and Memphis was down by 10, down by 12 for a lot of that game. They make a comeback. They take the lead with about 4 minutes or so left in the second half, and they take the lead off of a Kendrick Davis damn near half court three. Like he's at the logo, and he just jacks it from deep, and he makes it. And I don't think anyone in the forum was like, "No, don't shoot that, Kendrick." No one probably felt that. Everyone's probably like, okay, that's a deep shot, and it goes in, and everyone freaks out because Kendrick Davis. He was just so crafty. His ball handling, his shiftiness, his quickness. He also was really good at using his body to create separation to finish at the rim, because he's not a big guy. He's a small guy, but he was really good at using his body and creating angles to finish over the bigs. And he had a nice clean step back. If you had a big switch on him on the perimeter, he knocked that three over a big. Like he was so good. Like I really hope that he has a successful professional basketball career, whether that be in the NBA, whether that be overseas. I just hope he has a successful career, because his story is fantastic. He deserves it, and I'm glad that he was a Memphis Tiger for a season. God, I wish he were still there. I really do. I really wish he were still playing for this team. But yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome.
He was a bucket, man. He was a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun to watch. I think was he the Warriors G League team?
Yep.
Warriors G League team. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully he has a. All right. So obviously Caleb Mills out for the season and all that. How much has that affected this Tigers team?
A lot, man. A lot. And initially, when I saw him go down, I felt horrible for him. I mean, that just any non-contact injury, damn, like any
brutal. And
you just hold your breath. You get so worried every time you see any non-contact injury. And for him, it was like he slipped, like he was going for a layup, and it's like whoever was the cleaning person on the floor just didn't do his job, because he just slipped, and I felt horrible for him. So I felt bad. B, and this was totally my bad on this opinion. I didn't think it would be that detrimental to the team. I thought Jaycon Wallen would be able to step up. They can get some quality minutes from other guys on the bench. You lose the scoring, but I didn't think it would be like a massive impact. I thought obviously it would impact the team, but I didn't think it would be massive. Well, I'm 100% wrong. Like I will own up to that. It's a big loss. You lose a shot creator. You lose another guy who can get downhill, kind of maneuver his way through the trees. And hell, if they played a 2-3, Caleb is shifty enough to get by guys and get to the second level and maybe finish at the rim or hit a mid-range jump shot. You lose that other creator. And give Caleb Mills credit, because up to this point, he had been a really good defender for the Tigers. And for his career, I wouldn't say he was a good defender. Like I know his stats when he was at Florida State, when he was at Houston. He was not a good defender. Was some of that playing on a bad team? Probably. I'm sure that was some of it too. But I was pleasantly surprised to see how much effort he played on the defensive side of the ball, because he was one of the best perimeter defenders that Memphis had. And so losing that is a big loss. Losing his scoring is a big loss. Penny Hardaway said after Caleb Mills got hurt, Penny was like, we got to get more from Ashton Hardaway, from Carl Sharenfont, from Jaycon Wallen, from Jaden Hardaway. Like he tried to do like a make up the loss by committee type strategy. And as a Grizzlies fan, That's what the Grizzlies tried to do when they let go of D'Anthony Melton, when they let go of Kyle Anderson. They tried to draft young guys to cobble together the same amount of production, and unfortunately, that's not how that works. Unfortunately, and the loss of Caleb Mills, it definitely stings.
Yeah, I remember he was playing Duke last year, and he had some flashes. Like he definitely did some good things. So that's definitely a tough loss. Kev.
And yeah, he was a major scorer coming out of North Carolina too. Like Kelvin Sampson don't just recruit anybody to play at Houston, bro. Like that's you got to do something to get over there. But I got to ask you about, I asked about Penny earlier, but I want to ask you about the different, I guess you want to call it coaching lineups that Penny's had, right? Because people forget since he's been there, he's literally had Mike Miller, Larry Brown, he had Steve Wallace first stint, right?
Yeah, he had Mike Brown, Larry Brown. Oh,
he had a whole bunch of different guys come through the program, right? So like, that's
hell, he could have had
too.
Mike Brown. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he could have Mike Brown. Yeah.
Man. And so now y'all got Rick Stansbury. So just tell me how you feel about just the coaches right now. Because again, it's been a lot of shakeup in his 6 years there, and not too many coaches go through that, right? Because we always love to give credit to the head coach, which is fine. Like obviously that's a tough job, but people don't understand like assistant coaches lay a lot of the groundwork too. Any great program, whether it be Michigan State, Duke, like Coach K didn't do it by himself. Izzo didn't do it by himself. It always takes help, right? And so just talk to me about how Penny got to this point where he, like I said, he's gone through literally a whole bunch of different coaches and he's finally settled on the staff what it looks like.
And don't forget he had an NBA guy, Cody Toppert, who recruits loved. They loved him. And Cody was such a good guy for scouting reports and was really helpful as an assistant coach. He also had Frank Haith from Tulsa. Which was funny to see Frank Haith on the coaching staff a year after Tulsa beat Memphis, like at Tulsa. Like, it was kind of funny to me. Like Haith runs a 2-3 zone. He ran at Tulsa. That was his bread and butter. And he whooped Penny like with his 2-3 zone. And then it's like, I mean, it's probably too harsh. This is not a diss to Frank Haith, but it's like KD joining the Warriors. It's like, you just beat. Well, I guess he joined the team that he beat, so it's not KD joined the Warriors. Anyway, whatever. Opposite. I digress. But yeah, I think that's an underrated issue that Penny's had as a head coach. He hasn't had a lot of continuity with his assistant coaching staff. There are rumbles that. What do they even do? Like, what exactly does his other assistants do? Like, we know he has Rick Stansbury, but honestly, I don't know the names of any of the other assistants. Like, I don't. Like, straight up, I just don't. I should because I cover the team, but I don't. Like, I'm not exactly sure what the rest of that staff does, especially after seeing the string of games where they haven't been able to make the necessary adjustments against the zone. They haven't been able to have the necessary energy to play hard and against lesser opponents. Like they barely beat University of Texas San Antonio. They barely beat Austin Peay. They barely beat Vanderbilt. That's a coaching staff thing. Like that, it's a team thing too. Team has to buy in. Team has to have the energy, but it's also a coaching staff thing too. Like I think that's been an issue for Penny. It's cool to see the big names. It was cool to have Larry Brown wearing Tiger blue, seeing him on sidelines, and then when he couldn't be on the sidelines, he was like an advisor to Penny, and it was still cool. Like it's Larry Brown, like that's pretty sick. And now he's got Slick Rick Stansbury, and he was the interim coach for 3 games at the start of the year. It's cool. I want Penny to get some continuity with his assistant coaching staff. I mean, you look at Calipari at Kentucky. I'm pretty confident this dude's name is Orlando Antigua.
Yeah.
If that's his name, I'm very confident. That man has been John Calipari's assistant for a million years. Like he has been, he was with Cal at Memphis, and he's still with Cal at Kentucky. And he's like, he probably could have gotten coaching jobs at, insert D1 school here. He's like, nope, I'm staying with Cal. And Penny does not have that guy. Penny does not have that assistant or a group of assistants that he can fully count on. Like Mike Miller was there, and then he left. You just went down the list. None of the people you mentioned, Kev, are with Memphis right now.
Yeah, the continuity is not there, and that's important. Like Kev said, see with Duke, Coach K had his staple. You know, he had a staple of guys, and and always had guys ready for when those guys leave to go get head coaching jobs. He had guys lined up, and those guys were there for a little bit. Then there was always levels. There's always they're ready for that next whoever's getting the next job. And then just with Penny, it always felt like it's constant movement. And I feel like that's so vital. Like Kev said before, the coaches are having good coaches is very important. Like if you have constant change, and we see this, we see college football, we see coach, Nick Saban losing coaches, and he's always ready, to have those guys ready, the next guy's ready and all that, but when you have so much change like that, sometimes it's very hard, and then, it gets tough. But yeah, it feels like he definitely has his guys ready, the guys, his coaching staff ready right now. And that's good. Continuity is good, but that's what people don't think of. We don't think about stuff like that.
No,
we're always worried
honestly,
about the head coach. Like I said, it's always the head coach, and whether it's his fault, he probably gets too much of the blame, too much of the love and all that, and it's just about the players. But we forget there's so much, especially in college, there's so much more. The in-betweens and all that is just as important as the head man in charge.
Let me ask you all something, because we're talking about college coaches who come back to their alma mater. Penny at the moment seems to be the exception to the rule. Like, he's done well at Memphis. And you think about Patrick Ewing at Georgetown. You think about Jerry Stackhouse.
We don't talk about.
Well,
Patrick
you're talking about,
because that was an abomination.
Think about Stack. At Vanderbilt
he's
right
having
now.
Tough time. Yeah.
They haven't even reached they haven't become an average SEC team yet under Stack. And then obviously Juwan Howard. He had success early on. He's had health issues, so I hope he's okay this year. Hope he's all right. But Michigan, he's struggled over the past couple of seasons as well. How do y'all feel about schools getting their big name alum to come back and coach? Again, Penny seems to be the exception, but how do y'all feel?
You can answer first, Prezi.
It's tough because the expectations immediately is, they're going to revamp the program, depending where the program is, and, so it's like for you guys, it's like, we got to get back to the Coach Cal days, so Penny's going to get us there because he's Penny Hardaway. He's a 5-time All-Star. He's an All-NBA player. He was going to be a Hall of Famer, all this, what he's done in the AUC in high school. Oh yeah. And then how it started with the big recruiter classes, right? So you're like, oh man, he got big time players coming, so the expectation is very high, but it's a process, especially when, guy didn't coach in college and all that. Juwan, like I mentioned before, look what Juwan's going through, being a big time alum, Fab Five. He was a part of a historical, cultural changing, team, in the early 90s with the Fab Five that changed college basketball, that team and all that. So big expectation. We want our basketball team to get back. It's taking over for Balin. What's homie's name that left for the Cavalier? Balin, he was there for a cup of coffee too, because he wasn't ready for that. He probably should have stayed and all, but a lot of expectations and all. And you see with Stackhouse now. Stackhouse, not an alum, but obviously former NBA player, big time.
Excuse me, not an alum. Thank you. Yeah.
But taking over a tough job. I mean, me and Kev talk about it time, and that's Vanderbilt is Vanderbilt. It's Vanderbilt. And that is a tough job. And I think we just assume, a lot of people assume, because these guys are big time, they got big names, they're big time hoopers, that, they'll figure it out. And sometimes it just doesn't work. And like I said, Penny, I think deserves more credit than he probably gets. And if he was Chris LeBron, head coach, he'd be probably getting crazy credit. If he was Kev, he would be good, but he's Penny Hardaway. So the expectations is, we got to get to an Elite Eight. We got to get a Final Four. What's going on? What are you doing? But it's sometimes you got to take steps. Everybody wants instant gratification. I know, but some of these coaches, like Patrick Ewing, first of all, he didn't want the job. He didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, but he got pressured in, Coach Thompson, all that. It's like, all right, I'll do it and all that. And he just wasn't ready. He wanted to be a head, because he's been getting passed up in the NBA because he's been trying to get head coach job in the league. So he's like, you know what? If I can't get one in the NBA, let me go to my alma mater and see what happens. Didn't work. He wasn't ready. I mean, he's more ready for the meme. Is that your shot? That's what he's most known for. Because everything else is disaster. That's just not his thing, So we just can't assume, because you got a big hole. And he's a Hall of Fame top 50, top 75 player of all time, one of the greatest centers of all time. And he was one of the worst coaches we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It doesn't translate. So I think it's a tough. It has to be the right thing. But as like I said, we see with a lot of Patrick Ewing. We just mentioned. See what you want, and even some rough times in Memphis. With expectations, but it's tough. It's tough, and I think people need to just clamor down with expectations and just be like, this is a process, all right? Both with learning how to coach in college, and now just everything that comes with that, because it is a 24/7 job. We know
Exactly.
that. Sometimes I wonder how these guys do. We kept talking last year, like it is a grind, because you have to not just recruit,
re-recruit.
You got to recruit your own players to stay now.
Mm-hmm.
Because if homies, man, he's not playing minutes, man. He might have to transfer. So then that just changes how I got to look at the roster now, because he might dip. Oh man, now I got to give myself another center because he's gone. Damn, man. Now do I go in the portal? Do I get this kid out of this 4-star? Now I don't know how guys do it. College football too is 10 times worse because you got more players on the team. At least college basketball's less. You're only dealing with 12, 15 guys. With college football, I don't know how. That's why Saban's like, nah, I'm good, man. Let me go take my millions. Let me go chill in Florida in my yacht and the mansion with his wifey, and that's it. So it's expectations too high and all that. It's a combination, but it's tough. It's tough. Coaching college is tough. Period. If you without the name, and now you add that you're a big time name, and now they expected you to change the program just like that, and that's not how it works.
And that's where I got to reiterate your point, right? Because I mean, first of all, you didn't even mention your boy Chris Mullins at St. John's.
That was another one. Chris, dude want to do a Phil Jackson. I just want to coach home games.
Yeah,
I heard stories like they're like, oh man, he doesn't coach, like he's just there. He's just because he's Chris Mullen, he's just chilling, because he's an alum and all that. And me and Kev talk about with the St. John's job, you got to get a New Yorker. It's not that type of New Yorker. He's too New York, where he's just late. I guess he's an Aquarius because he was just hella laid back. Sometimes I'm looking at him, I'm like, does he even know? Does he want to be here? He was just half-assed, and you just can't be like that in college basketball. You got to be it. I know you Patino now in there. He's New York, and you see the difference in the program and all that,
And with that, it's like, again, like you said, the biggest thing when it comes to just, you got to re-recruit your own roster. And the thing that people don't understand is you don't have an off season. In the NBA, you have an off season. For the most part, the majority of your roster is going to be back. You might have a free agent here or there. You might want to make a trade, whatever, but who your foundation and what the pillars of your team are going to be for the most part. In college, like you said, large in part because of college football, it's the wild, wild west right now. Especially,
and there's no real off season, like you said. Like in pro sports, there's an off. You get the off season. You got this happens first, free agency, draft, or whatever. Everything's in order. Everything has a date. This starts this. This ends there. This starts this. This ends now, and then boom, the season preseason starts. In college sports in general, it's just craziness, and it's just too much, and it gets real crazy. Like you said, and then re-recruiting your own players. Right? It used to be you recruit your players and they're good. Now it's like, oh crap, he's a 5-star and all that, but damn, he's only playing 14. Like you just mentioned, he's only playing 10 minutes. Now I got to re-recruit him, make sure he's good. You might have to play him when he's not ready to play. And now he's not happy, and now he's gone. And now I wasted all that time recruiting this 5-star, and now I gotta find a replacement for him again. That's tough.
And that's why I'm glad Francis asked that too, because the reason I've defended Penny to my deathbed is because he's more than just the exception, right? Because especially at the fact that it's not like he's just at a random school. He's at Memphis, right? College basketball is better when Memphis is good, in my opinion, right? And Memphis has a history that includes him, that includes Cal, that includes a couple others, right? And Penny, for me, has done a really good job going back to what Prezi said earlier, because before he got to Memphis, he didn't coach at the Division I level. Right. So again, all this is new on the fly for the most part. And that's why I commend him, because in my opinion, he is getting better and better by the season. And I salute him, but I also salute the university, because anytime the NCAA try to throw like an infraction on him or whatever, the university stands behind him 10 toes. Right. And a lot of guys do not get that same love whatsoever. And of course, because he's Penny Hardaway, he's the king of Memphis. So I get it. But like, I salute the entire university, all the people out there, and especially him, because again, it's a growing process, right? People can get frustrated, whatever. But again, Penny's still learning. It's a complete different ball game, and I give him credit for that, because it feels like he's starting to slowly but surely find his niche. And once he hits it, I think he's gonna take off and never look back.
I agree. I fully agree. It's it's in all the points y'all made are fantastic. I could not echo them more. Looking at the current roster right now, like there's a freshman that I adore. This freshman, Carl Sherifont. I adore this dude. I mean, I am the president of his fan club. Like no question. I want him to play 15 minutes a game. I want him to take minutes from Ashton Hardaway, from Jaden Hardaway. Penny loves his sons, and he's got to. They're his sons. But play Carl, please, more. Because defensively, he's got it. Like, that dude's got it on the defensive side. Offensively, yes, he's raw. But you're not going to – if you put him in a lineup with JQ, David Jones, Tomlin, Dandridge, like, you can do that. You can kind of hide Carl on the offensive side. But defensively, oh, my goodness. Like, he just plays with so much effort. And he's a freshman. He's a 4-star freshman. And I just hope that he never leaves. But in the day and age of college basketball, like you said, you got to re-recruit your own guys. Like he just signed to Memphis last summer. And now you're looking at him and he may think, well, I'm only playing like 10 minutes a game. These dudes, the dudes that he's playing in front of me are buns, and I'm not playing in front of them. And he may think that internally, and he may be like, what?
Of course, yeah.
Let me go somewhere else. Let me go play for another team, another coach that's going to give me a starting spot. Let me go take some NIL or whatever. Like, I don't need this. And that's possible. So that's why Penny said, actually, it's a good point, Kev. That's probably why Penny's been very vocal in press conferences saying, I got to get Carl more minutes. Like he said that in the past 2 press conferences. Like I got to find a way to get him on the floor. And he had 7 minutes last game. He contributed well in those minutes. But I want him playing like 10, 15 minutes a game. Like I'm being dead serious. I want him playing because he is that good defensively. And offensively, I think you can kind of hide him a little bit. But yeah, on defense, he's big. But that's the hard part about college sports nowadays. And this is not even me complaining. I love NIL. I love giving players freedom. Like I love this and new landscape of college sports. But that's also the scary part. Like they have all the freedom now. So what happens? Like you lose a little bit of control as a coach of a program, of a basketball team, football team, whatever team. So it's a hard ass job. It's a very hard job, and I think Penny has done a really good job of adjusting, of adapting to the times. Like he's looked around. He says many times how much he watches other teams play basketball. He studied Baylor, he studied Villanova, he studied Virginia's defense. Like he's a student of the game, and he knows what it takes for them to be successful, and he's trying to bring that to Memphis as well. So I think he's doing a great job. And you talk about in-season recruiting, they had to bring in Naquan Tomlin mid-year.
Man, yeah.
They had to bring in a whole new guy, like one of the best players in the Big 12 last year, who was great for Kansas State in the NCAA tournament. He had to recruit him mid-season because he got released by the program because the president didn't like him or something like that.
Yep, exactly.
So he just up and left. And so there's this dude who's a baller. He's a hooper. And Penny was like, I'm gonna go recruit him because there's issues with Jordan Brown, who I think is still sick. That's what everyone's saying. He's sick. And he gets asked about Jordan Brown after every game. And Penny's like, to my knowledge, he's still on the team. What does that even mean, man? Like, what does that mean, Penny?
That means he's
what does that
not
mean?
on the team.
I don't know. It's such a weird situation. So he had to go and recruit mid-season. And what is Penny Hardaway? A damn good recruiter. That man can recruit. He can recruit in high school. He can recruit in the portal. Like he is that good. I heard a lot of people comparing him to Deion Sanders at Buffalo, at Colorado, not Buffalo, Colorado Buffaloes.
Mm-hmm.
And Deion, hell of a recruiter. And also transfer portal, he's going to be a hell of a recruiter in the portal as well. But just like Penny, Deion's got to learn how to coach. He's got to learn how to build a roster. Colorado was terrible before that. And they weren't that good this year. I thought they'd be better, but they weren't that good this year. But he'll learn. Like, it just takes time.
Yep.
And, at the very least, Penny is a good recruiter. And if you can recruit, you can get guys in the portal. You can get guys from high school. As he develops as a coach, I think Memphis is on the right trajectory to continuously be a relevant college basketball program in the country.
Yeah. Also, People just like rooting for people to fail.
Facts.
Let's be real. We saw it with Coach Prime.
Yep.
Everybody was rooting for his downfall because of the swagger he brought. And what's crazy is people love Prime, right? Everybody loved Prime. Nobody can ever say anything bad, but because he's coaching college football and it's a different landscape, it's a different how the coaches act was always that same, how been acting for the last 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in, he changes it up. I think that was the same thing with Penny too. He was a little different and all that, and people he rubbed people some wrong way. People don't like change. Me and Kev talk. People don't like that. We're so used, especially in college sports too. Yeah, in college sports especially. Maybe not so much college bat, but in college football especially. You can't be different.
Yeah, college sports.
They don't like different. They don't like guys like Coach Prime coming in and changing stuff. And I feel like the same thing with Penny. I feel like there was a lot of people rooting for his downfall. And I was like, wait, you were rooting for his downfall when he was just coaching high school and all. Everybody loved Penny. Everybody, oh yeah, he's one of the what if, right? And like, but he coaches, and then now is everybody rooting for his down, get fired, blah blah. And it just feels like that's a lot with him. And I never liked that part. If you want to criticize him, but just rooting for him to fail just because you want him to root to fail, I always thought that was nasty. I don't like that. I never liked that and all that. That was always me and Kev talked about. Like, never liked that aspect. Just rooting for him just to fail. Like it's
they don't. It's not that they don't like the person. They don't like the hype around the entity.
That's That's the Coach Prime. Yeah, exactly, Coach Prime. They don't like that everything around it with the social media and all that. Mm-hmm. That it bring the attention and all that. Because but it's like with anything who changes kind of like that atmosphere, who ruffles some feathers. People don't like that. And now you're rooting for. Oh yeah, I hope he. Like with Colorado, that was a 1-win football team. Now they didn't get to a bowl game or anything, but they won 4, and they were in some other games. Yeah, they had some losses they shouldn't have, but they won 1 football game the year before that. They were bad. Look at what Penny. Tubby Smith is a national championship coach.
Don't get me talking about Tubby Smith, man. Don't do that.
Tubby did not do his
thing.
Don't
do that, man. Don't do
at
that.
Memphis. Let's keep it a buck. He did not do his thing, so like he had to take over. Penny had to take over some nastiness,
Tubby did not give.
I hope Tubby's doing well.
Oh, sure. I hope he's doing well too, I guess. But he didn't give a damn about the city of Memphis. He did not care about the city. He didn't care about the fans. He didn't care about Memphis basketball culture. He didn't care. He was like, "That's not my job. Like, I'm just trying to coach a basketball team. Like, it's not my job to put people in seats, to put out an entertaining product. Like, I'm just trying to coach a team." And in Memphis, you can't do that. You can't do that in Memphis. Yep. You have to love the city. You have to be able to represent the city, put on for the city. You don't have to be from Memphis, but you have to always be representing the city. You have to. That as much as I have a grudge against John Calipari for how he left, I will always appreciate what he said in his interview when he stood outside of his house, right in front of his fancy ass mansion and right next to the Galloway golf course in Memphis, Tennessee, and he said something along the lines of, whoever coaches this team has to hug the city, and the city will hug it back. Like if you hug the city will hug you back. Whoever this next coach will be, and that's true. Like whoever coaches the Memphis Tigers has to love Memphis. It's just that simple. You can't have that be the case. But I had a whole nother point. Oh, okay. I remember my other point. Everything else said about Prime, 100%. And I'll just tiptoe around what I really want to say. I guess I'll try and be a little PC about it. People don't like how, yes, Deion's different, but people don't like the different way he was different. If that makes any sense, like that's what people don't like. Yeah, he's different. We know that, and it's okay to be different, but not that type of different. Like, no, don't be like that. And that's what people didn't like. That's what a lot of people in this country don't like about Deion Sanders. It's how he was different. And It's not what this podcast is about. So I'm not.
No. We get what
But
you're
you know what I
saying.
mean.
I hear you.
I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying.
I know you. I know you get what I'm saying. So
No, yeah.
that's how Penny was too. You know, when he came to Memphis, he had this massive Memphis Madness event when his number one recruiting class. He rose up from the stands with smoke, and he had a white hood. I think it was a white hoodie, but he had a hoodie on, smoke, and it was all black. It was all dark in the stadium. All the lights were on Penny, and it was just like, we want all the smoke. We want all the smoke. We want everything. We'll take anyone. We'll play anybody anywhere. Well, he got the smoke, and it didn't pan out early on. So I think that's why so many people were happy to see some sort of failure, because he was so braggadocious about how he carried himself, how he said what he was going to do with Memphis so quickly. Now, so many people would want Penny to just learn his place, for lack of a better term. And when he had those issues, there were people like, yeah, all right, there we go. That's it. Like that's what we expected. But now he's changed, and you don't really hear the rumblings of, oh, Penny's a bad coach. Oh, he's an AAU coach now. Like, no, he's put together a respectable program.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, he can get better as a coach, no question. But he's put together a respectable college basketball program that is on the right trajectory. And that is so difficult. That is so damn hard. But he's doing it. So I'm glad that y'all are willing to give him his flowers.
And I'm glad you said that too, because first of all, shout out to a few different guys. Derrick Rose, Chris Douglas Roberts, right? Like all the guys that kind of laid the foundation to this program years back.
Man.
But like,
He was the man, CDR.
It's a lot, right? And I'm glad you brought up that quote by Cal where you paraphrase, and it's real, because it's like Memphis is one of those cultural jobs, right? You can't just walk into Memphis. It's like when Brian Kelly went to LSU. If you're the head coach at LSU for football, you better know how they feel about football down there in the South, right? It's different. It's completely different.
And
right?
don't be fake. Like, he had the fake accent and everything.
Oh no,
like that's not what it is.
What up?
Like,
We all don't. It's like, yo,
Yeah,
just
man.
be you, my guy. Like, you
that's
can
what I'm
read
saying.
right
You can
through
embrace
you,
it.
bro.
Just embrace it.
Yeah.
You don't gotta change your ways, but just embrace where you're at now, right? And that's why I love Memphis. And so with that though, I gotta ask you this. You kind of touched on it a little bit too earlier, but David Jones, right? Started off at DePaul for 2 years. He was at St. John's last year for Mike Anderson. Of course, he got fired. They got Pitino now. Made another decision to hop in the transfer portal again. I got to ask you about him, because me personally, I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was this good. And again, I think this also goes back to Penny too, because one thing I love about Penny is he gives players all the confidence in the world and the freedom to be themselves. And the way that he's been playing this season has been amazing. I definitely think he's going to end up being an All-American. And so, yeah, I just had to ask you about how you feel about David Jones so far this season.
You know, I also wrote an article about David Jones' story, how he got to Memphis, and a big theme of that article was none of us saw this coming. If you were to look me in the eyes and say, yeah, I saw David Jones being a 20-point per game scorer and being one of the best scorers in college basketball and going on a 30, I think he had a 6 straight 20-point game or above streak. And he was just on an insane bender of scoring. Like, if you can look me in the eyes and say, yeah, I saw this coming. No, shut up. Like, stop it. Dude, no one saw this coming. You know, we Memphis fans, we knew that we were gaining a talented scorer who, when he gets downhill, good luck stopping him, because he just puts his head down and he's so strong, but he's also so crafty and shifty with his body. And again, we talk about Kendrick Davis and creating angles. David Jones is also fantastic at creating angles to finish. And he also draws fouls. Like, he gets in the line a lot, and he shoots free throws at a high percentage. So he knows how to score the basketball at a very, very elite level. And, you know, we knew we were getting a good score, but none of us expected this. However, David Jones probably expected this, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Because he's always been a bucket. He's ever since his days playing in the Dominican Republic, playing for the national team at the under 16s, under 15s. Like, he was playing against dudes like Scotty Barnes, Alperen Şengün, like playing other Jalen Green. He was lining them up like as some dude from the DR, putting up numbers in these tournaments. And he always knew he wanted to be this type of player. He always knew he could be this type of player, and he knew he could do this. Penny Hardaway, he recruited him. I'm sure there was a part of Penny that also saw this type of scorer, this type of dog in David Jones as well. I mean, what I love about him is he takes a lot of like no yes shots,
Yep.
but also at the same time he's so good in the mid range. Like he gets a couple dribbles, like a couple pound dribbles, gets to his spot on the elbow, he rises up, and it's like, yeah, that's 2 points. Like he's, there's not even a hand in his face because he just does 2 pound dribbles, rises, and it's just cash. Like it's so clean. He has a nice step back jumper from the outside as well. But really, he's really just crafty going downhill and getting to the line. He's really, really good. He's not a mega athlete. He's not going to jump through a gym or anything like that. But he's athletic enough to create space, get to his spots, and finish through contact. Like he's just a very talented scorer that I don't think any of us saw coming. But he's kept Memphis in games. Now, be critical, as well. I still want him to be a better playmaker. I really do. Because like I said, when he gets to his spots, the defense will converge, and he misses guys who are wide open in the short corner. He misses guys cutting to the rim too often. He was better at that against Wichita State, but I think that's more of a product of Wichita State's defense just being bad than David Jones making the right read as a playmaker. It could be a combination of both, but I think Wichita State's defense is just bad. So I still want DJ to make a leap as a playmaker. I really do. But as a scorer, yeah, he's a real deal. As an on-ball defender, he has flashes of being a very good on-ball defender, but he reminds me a bit of Anthony Edwards on defense, because you watch Ant play defense and you see him lock in, and you're like, oh, who is this guy? Who is this guy playing defense? Like he's in the stance, he's moved his feet, he's like hounding guys on the ball. Like, who is this guy? And then there are times you see Ant and he loses a guy back door. He doesn't box out. He doesn't close out. He doesn't move his feet. And like, that's the same thing with David Jones. There are too many moments where he's not always there on the defensive side. He's not always crisp on rotations. Memphis loves to point switch. That's really the name of the game for their defense. And there are too many times, especially in the USF game, even early on, but too many times where David just missed switches. He wouldn't be on the same page as Nick Jourdain or Malcolm Dandridge or David or Nick Tallman, when they're trying to switch actions. So he's not a perfect player by any means. He's not a perfect player, but I think he's good enough to be an NBA player. He's that good of a scorer, and he should be an All-American. If he keeps this up, and he makes a playmaking leap. He's a hell of a rebounder. So he keeps this up, continues to be a great rebounder, adds a playmaking leap. He could be Memphis's first team All-American since Chris Douglas Roberts in 2008. So it's possible. He's a great player.
Yeah, he's definitely balled out this year and all that, and definitely going to be All-American considerations and all that. But we'll end it with this. What are your expectations for the rest of the season? What would make you feel good about this season for Memphis?
What would make me feel good? What would make me feel great?
I know what.
Yeah, you know what makes me feel great?
One shining moment cutting down.
Yeah.
I know that's what Kev wants for the Spartan. That's what I want for my Dookies and all.
Right.
But
yeah.
What would make you feel good this season for this team? Real, if you could be realistic and all that.
Realistic. Yeah, it's got to be a second weekend. Sweet 16 at least. I before the year I went on Nick Andre's pod for the love of the game. Shout out Nick, awesome pod that he does.
Yep.
Talk Tigers with him, and I told him that Elite 8 is my prediction. I think that's where they finish. I think they lose in the Elite 8. I predicted them to be a 5 seed in the tournament. Right now, Joe Lunardi has them as a 5 seed in the tournament. Could Memphis have theoretically ran the table in the conference and be a top 2 seed, be a 1 seed? Of course, that was possible, but I didn't think that was going to happen. A loss like last night against USF, I don't think I saw them losing that game specifically, but they were definitely going to lose 2 or 3 games in conference, no question. Like they were not going to run the table. They're going to have a bad loss somewhere in there. It's college basketball. It's so hard. Yeah. It's college basketball in conference. But I still think they're going to be a 5
college
seed.
kids too. Like if people get mad at that, we're dealing with college kids, right? This isn't like the pro.
Yep.
Like kids sometimes they lose focus. Like, oh, we're up 20, we dominated, and then little things happen and all that, and like college kids get focused, lose focus.
100%.
You know, it happens.
100%. So yeah, Elite Eight. But as my prediction, what would make me feel good is second weekend. If they lose in the, I mean, I would take losing in the second round, or what is it, the third round now? Because there's the
Sweet 16.
No, I mean like losing in the round of 32.
Okay,
Is what I mean.
yeah.
Oh, because the first
So-
that first
yeah.
round that
The
counts as
second
like
day, yeah. You know what I mean?
first
Yeah.
four in. They,
Yeah. Because I think they call it now the second round of the tournament when it's
Yeah.
the first round. But whatever,
Yeah.
who cares? Anyway, yeah, because they have stayed at the 5 seed, they beat the 12, and then they go and play the 1 seed. They go and play Kansas, UConn, whoever. You know, they play a top team in the country, and they lose that game. They keep it respectable. All right, you know, okay, they lost to a 1 seed. Like, what do you want? Like, obviously, I would love for them to beat the 1 seed, make a Sweet 16, but they still lost to a 1 seed. You know, it is what it is. Like, it happens in sports. So I just, if they lose in the first round, then that will not make me feel good. Like another first round loss, especially if they're the higher seed. Like if they are the 5 seed and they get upset in the 5-12, and that happens a lot. You know, 12 seeds beat 5 seeds all the time. But if it happens to Memphis this year, man, that will not make me feel good. That would not make me feel good. So, yeah.
Francis, what if none of that happens? What if it gets bad? Let's say you're a 9 seed, 10 seed, you lose in the first round, lose convincingly. Do we start hearing some stuff that, hey, you know, Penny, do you think we finally hear like, oh man, he's gotta do something next season? Like if it does go, you know, I don't expect it to, but you know, we don't, you know, you never know in college basketball and all that.
If this year wasn't make or break, and like I said to y'all at the start of the show, I don't think anyone thought this was a make or break year. Then next year, yeah, it'll be as close to a DEFCON 1 moment, DEFCON 1 season that Penny would have had. Like no question. If they got Tulane the Sunday at Tulane, that's not an easy game. In that small, game? Road game at Tulane in that small gym where that is not easy. Tulane's good too. They have talent. So this could go south fast. They play at Tulane. They go at UAB. UAB isn't that good this year, but that crowd is hostile. Like that crowd can get. Yeah. And Memphis and UAB, I'm sure y'all know, used to be a big time rivalry back in the Calipari days. Like they hated each other. Like that Derrick Rose team, they played at UAB. I'm pretty confident that's the game where the fans just threw popcorn and drinks like all over the players. Like they do not like Memphis. So, you know, if they don't right the ship fast, we could start talking about like, oh, well, damn, is Memphis going to be back on the bubble? Are they going to be a 9 seed again, 10 seed again, you know, last team in again? And if they are, and they lose in the first round, yeah, I feel like next season will be as close to DEFCON 1 as it's ever been. So see, Chris, I thought you were going to go the other way with your question. I thought you were going to ask like, oh, well, what if the Tigers win the whole championship? You're going to get me all excited at the end of the podcast. Now you got me sad and worrying.
Hey, that's what you got to do, man. That's good. But, you know, I mean, the goal is always championship, but, you know, he has a good team this year. He definitely has a good team this year. And, you know, and me and Kev talk about this all the time. Veteran guard play that's how you win championships. And he has that. Quinterly is a bowler and all that. You know, I know the game against South Florida, you know, the turnover late, you know, that was tough.
Yeah,
but
that's tough.
It happens and all that. But, you know, most likely he's someone you can trust, you know, in most late games. So that's crucial. And all. Kev, you got anything else left for Francis?
Real quick, I was just gonna ask, like, what would you like to see them most improve as the rest of the season plays out?
Assists, no question. Penny said the same thing in press conferences. He wants to average around 20 assists a game. I don't think that's not going to happen. They're not going to average 20 assists a game, but they right now they average. I had the metric pulled up. Give me a sec. They average 13.4 assists per game. And it's only 13.4 now because they play Wichita State and they had around 25 assists. It was like 13.1. And then they played USF last night and had like 8 assists. Like they're too inconsistent. They don't move the ball enough. There's not crisp passing. And it is a problem. There's too much hero ball. And that's what happens. You know, we talked about the issues with zone. That's what teams want to get Memphis to do. They play a zone, so the ball isn't moving. There's no clicking. There's confusion. There's no cohesion. So that's what I want to see. I want to see Memphis get to around 16 assists per game. If they get to 16 assists per game, then I think Memphis can definitely make an Elite Eight. Because right now, BYU leads the nation in assists with 21. But if you average 16, you're a top 30 team in assists in the country, top 33. And I would love that. If they can get up to 16 a game, improve the ball movement, the off ball movement. And, you know, I love the ideas that you brought up, Kev, about putting a guard to be in the middle of a zone, just getting creative, just getting creative with how to break down a zone. Because as you all know, you have to be creative to score against a zone. You can't just be vanilla. You can't. Like if you're just vanilla and stagnant, that's exactly what they want. They want you to be that way when they play a zone, and they gotta get creative. And I would love to put, you know, maybe David Jones brings the ball up, and you have JQ be the guy at the free throw line, or JQ brings the ball up, you put David Jones as the guy at the free throw line, or Jaycon Wallen, or whoever. It just can't be a big because they're, as I said before, love Jourdain. He's just a little too slow as a decision maker. Dandridge, he's not a good enough passer.
College bigs don't know how to pass.
No, so it's just it. You know, obviously, could they coach that up? Sure, it's possible, but I would rather just get him. I'm with you, Kev. I think it's a great idea. But yeah, what I want to see as the season progresses, let's see if they can get up to 16 assists per game, and if they do, shoot, they're going to win the national championship. Like that. I mean, that means their offense started to click. That means they're starting to move the ball. Penny also, and last thing I'll say, Penny in his press conference after last night's loss, he mentioned some chemistry issues with the team. I don't know if y'all saw that. He mentioned some chemistry issues, saying that, you know, I couldn't play certain guys together because they just couldn't be on the floor together. Obviously, I don't know who he's talking about, but that was interesting to hear. And, you know, I noticed a little bit they go to timeout, and there just be a lot of jawing between the guys. And Penny's just in the middle of guys jawing. And even when they're winning, they go to timeout. And there's some weird stuff happening. I obviously, I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know anybody. I'm not an insider like that. But some seems off. Something definitely feels off. But they got to do some soul searching, man. It's got to happen quick. They go at Tulane, like we talked about, at Tulane, at UAB. But if they can get up that assist average up, that'll show to me that the chemistry is getting better. They're getting on the same page offensively. They've been more creative against the zone. And if those things happen, man, I mean, this is a good team. As you all know, this is a really good team. They can reach the pinnacle of college basketball. They can. And this is the first time I've been able to say that about a Penny Hardaway team. Although I really did like their team with Amani and Jalen Duren as well. That was a really good team. They just started off so slow. But this team can win a national championship. It'll take a lot, but they can do it.
Agreed.
Francis, were you yelling at the TV at the end of that? Because one thing I hate, I understand everybody wants to let as much as time to go down and get, you know, so you obviously the other team doesn't get a chance to. But to me, I rather get you know, obviously get your play set and then move. I don't care if we get a good shot and there's 4 seconds left that we got a good shot. Now now you just apply pressure to them. Well, I don't get why you wait. He's holding the ball. I'm not even a Memphis fan. I was yelling. I'm like, what are you doing? And we see this way too much, right? We always see this. They just wait.
You see it all the time.
Bounce, dribble. And like you said, everybody 4 corners, you know, boxing one essentially. Everybody's just sitting there waiting. Nobody's moving. Nobody's moving during this. At least if people are moving, all right, you can get everybody's moving. Everybody's standing there.
Yeah.
Everybody's standing there. And then 6 seconds left, boom, then you go and then the turnover. I wanted to freak out because I cannot stand that in basketball.
I can't.
I was because that's the one. Why do we wait for the last and then we move and then we expect everything to just work and then get mad when there's a turnover? Let's take even if all right, we scored the 6 seconds left. All right, now they got to go up the court and figure it out. And then there's pressure on the I get mad. I hate that. I hate the just pound the ball for 20 seconds, and then with 4 seconds left, now we're gonna run some actions. I can't stand that. I know you were probably mad. You were mad for the whole game because you guys were up big and you blew it. But for me, I'm like, oh my, I hate that. I can't stand it. I just can't stand it. Why do we wait for the 4 seconds left? I don't care. Let's get in quicker. All right, let's get a better shot off and all that.
It's ridiculous. I feel the same way. That too often we see it, like you said, see it all the time. Not just Memphis. So many teams do that when they're trying to milk clock. They run about 25 seconds out of the clock. They get into their set with 5 seconds left on the shot clock, and like they expect magic to happen in those 5 seconds. They expect whatever play they had drawn up to work perfectly. like whatever they had planned, it's gonna work. It's gonna work right here because obviously basketball is that easy. Whatever play you draw, it's gonna happen. It's gonna work. Obviously, no, that's not how basketball works. That's not how sports work. It was irritating. And what was worse to me, like the USF would, and credit USF, they did a good job of varying their coverage. They play some man possessions. They throw in man to confuse Memphis. Then they go back to their 1-3-1. Then they go to man. And so they wouldn't let Memphis get into a rhythm on the offensive side. So credit to them for doing that. But a possession I have vividly in my head when JQ just pounded the rock, just dribbled the ball for like what felt like an eternity. I'm pretty confident they're in man-to-man. And that's what pissed me off the most. It's like you now have the defense you want, and you're still running the clock out. You're still waiting so long to get into your set. Come on. Like it's oh man. Yeah. It's ridiculous. But no. To be positive, hopefully it's a learning experience. These losses happen. It's college basketball. And so we'll learn really quickly if this team has learned from this loss. There's no real room for error anymore, especially going on the road against Tulane and then against UAB. But I still have faith in this team. My outlook on this team has not changed. As I said, this team can win a national championship. They can do it. And this is the first time I've really been able to say that about a team under Penny Hardaway. It'll take a lot, but they can do it.
There we go. Francis, my man, pleasure having you on the show, brother.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, y'all. I appreciate y'all coming on or having me on. And y'all are great. This was awesome. We got to do this again. That was
yes,
awesome.
Sure. Appreciate it. Before we sign off for good, tell the people where they can find your work.
You can find me at Slugga Sports on Twitter. I'm never calling it X. It's like I'm gonna call it Staples Center. It's Staples Center for the rest of my life.
Google search Twitter and it pops up, so it's still Twitter.
Exactly. It's Twitter. It's still Staples Center. I don't care whatever they want to name it. That's Staples. So find me at Slugga Sports on Twitter. You can find my articles for BluffCityMedia.com. You find my podcast, the Up and Under Podcast, presented by Off the Ball Network. Anywhere you find podcasts. That's just a straight up NBA podcast, basketball in general. So find me there doing that show. You can find me after every single Memphis Tigers basketball game on Tigers Live, our new post-game show. It was just our second episode after the USF game. You can find it at Bluff City Media on Twitter. You can find it on Bluff City Media on YouTube, their YouTube page. We go live right as soon as the buzzer hits. I'm there. I'm going live, talking to people, taking comments, giving thoughts, having guests come on the show. So everybody, if you're a college basketball fan and you want Memphis to succeed, you support Penny, come on the show. Let's talk hoops.
For sure.
Yes, sir. Like I said, that's Francis Carlota, Bluff City Media, covering all things Memphis basketball, Grizzlies, Tigers, and all that. So make sure to check out his work and all that. We'll leave that all in the description and in the comment section. But another great show, another great Get a Bucket. Like I said, appreciate Francis for hopping on. As always a pleasure to have my guy Kev, in the passion seat with me. Make sure to follow me off the ball pod. Kev, tell the people they can find you.
At Kevo Mufasa 7, KEVOOMUFASA 7. As always, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Again, thank you, Francis. This was a dope ass episode, and y'all know we're gonna keep rocking. Appreciate everybody out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Make sure to follow Off the Ball Network, offtheballnetwork.com. We got a great trivia show going on. That's a lot of fun that we've been doing. Check out I'm doing a new series called What If with Omar, and our first episode, part 1, we're doing What If Shaq Never Left the Orlando Magic. Check that out. That is out right now. Check out part 1. Part 2 coming on. We'll talk about the Lakers side of Shaq going to if he never left the Orlando Magic, and go into all the little tentacles that happened and how it changes the whole landscape of the league and all that. But on that note, we are out. Get a Bucket Podcast. Peace out.
Peace.